My name is Evelyn Harper, 78 years young, and for 45 years I was the girl you saw in the background of every classic beach movie, laughing on a surfboard, dancing at a sock hop, or handing the handsome lead a milkshake with a wink. I never had a starring role, but my residuals kept the lights on in my little bungalow in Silver Lake. That was enough. I had my gardenias, my cat Sinatra, and Sunday brunch with the ladies from the old studio days. Life was quiet, and quiet suited me just fine. Until the day the mail stopped coming. It was late March, the jacarandas just starting to bloom purple along the sidewalks. I'd gone to the mailbox expecting my usual envelope from the Screen Actors Guild. $2.847 every quarter, like clockwork for 30 years. The box was empty except for a flyer about teeth whitening. I figured the mail was late. The next day, same thing. By the third day, I called SAG. Mrs. Harper, the nice young woman said, "Your last 3 residuals were deposited directly into your account on January 10th, February 10th, and March 10th. That can't be right," I told her. "I haven't seen a penny." She read off the routing number. It wasn't mine. My heart did a little tap dance, the kind I used to do in front of a camera. Someone had changed my direct deposit information. The only person who had access to my SAG login was my stepson, Julian Grant. Julian was the son my late husband, Richard, had from his first marriage. Richard passed 8 years ago, right after Julian married a sweet girl named Marisol and landed his first big producing credit. Julian was charming, tall, always tanned, always talking about the next project. He'd insisted on helping me with my finances after Richard died. "You shouldn't have to worry about this stuff, Evie," he'd said, kissing my cheek. "Let me take care of everything." I'd trusted him. He was family. Now I sat at my kitchen table, Sinatra purring on my lap, staring at the SAG confirmation email. 3 deposits. $8,541 stolen. And that was just the beginning. I didn't cry. I'd played enough tough dames in the movies to know tears don't solve anything. Instead, I poured myself a cup of Earl Grey, opened the linen closet, and pulled out the showbox where I kept every bank statement since Richard died. I'm old-fashioned, I like paper. Line by line, I went through them. The thefts were clever. The money left my real account the same day it arrived, transferred to something called Harper Legacy Holdings, LLC. I'd never heard of it. The address listed was a mailbox in Beverly Hills. I called my bank. They confirmed the transfers were authorized by someone using my online credentials. That night, I barely slept. Sinatra kept headbutting me, worried. At 3 a.m., I got up, put on my robe, and started writing everything down in the red leather journal Richard gave me our last Christmas together. Dates. Amounts. Phone calls. I titled the first page, "The Truth Will Out." The next morning, I phoned Gloria Delgado, my oldest friend from the studio days. Gloria had been a script supervisor on 30 pictures. She still had contacts everywhere. "Evie," she said after I told her, "you need Tommy Ruiz." Tommy Ruiz was a private investigator who specialized in entertainment fraud. He'd once caught a manager stealing from a child star. Gloria gave me his number. Tommy showed up at my bungalow 2 hours later wearing a Hawaiian shirt and the kindest eyes I'd ever seen on a man who carried a gun. He listened without interrupting, took notes, and drank 2 cups of my coffee. "Mrs. Harper," he said, "this smells like classic family exploitation. I'll start with the LLC. You keep every scrap of paper, every email. And don't confront Julian yet. Let him think the gravy train's still rolling." For the next 6 weeks, Tommy became my shadow. He taught me how to forward suspicious emails, how to take screenshots, how to record phone calls, legal in California with one-party consent. Every evening I wrote in my journal. April 12th, Julian called to invite me to the premiere of his new indie film. Said he'd send a car. I said yes. April 15th, Tommy found Harper Legacy Holdings is registered to Julian and Marisol. Same Beverly Hills mailbox. April 28th, another residual hit my real account, gone in 60 seconds. $2,847. Julian's premiere was at the Egyptian Theatre. I wore my emerald green vintage dress from 1962, the one I wore the night I met Richard. Julian hugged me like nothing was wrong. Marisol air-kissed both cheeks, diamonds flashing on every finger. Evie, you look fabulous. Julian beamed. We're taking care of everything, right? No money worries. None at all, darling, I lied, smiling for the photographers. Inside, I watched them work the room, laughing, promising investors, posing with starlets. My missing money bought those diamonds, that tuxedo, the bottle service at the after-party they invited me to, which I politely declined. On the drive home, I opened my journal in the backseat of the rideshare and wrote, "Tonight I saw what my money paid for. Tomorrow we fight back." Tommy's breakthrough came in May. He discovered Julian had used my SAG credentials to open a second bank account in my name, then linked it to the LLC. Every residual went straight there. Total stolen so far, $28,306. And that wasn't all. Julian had charged over $42,000 on a company, American Express, my late husband's old production company, still active because Julian never dissolved it. Spa days at the Beverly Wilshire. Private jets to Cannes. A down payment on a Tesla. All billed as talent relations. Tommy laid the printouts across my dining table like a deck of cards. "We have enough for elder financial abuse," he said. "California Penal Code 368. You can go criminal, civil, or both." I stared at the Tesla receipt. Bright red, just like the lipstick Marisol wore to the premiere. "I don't want him in jail," I said slowly. "I want my money back. And I want him to feel what I felt every time I checked an empty mailbox." Tommy smiled. "Then we do it your way. A family dinner. You invite them. I'll bring the evidence." I chose Sunday, Mother's Day. I told Julian I was making Richard's favorite, chicken piccata, roasted potatoes, asparagus with hollandaise. I even baked a lemon meringue pie. They arrived at 6 sharp. Julian carried roses. Marisol wore white, like an angel who'd never stolen a dime. "Evie, something smells amazing." Julian kissed my cheek. We sat down. Sinatra watched from the doorway, tail twitching. I served the chicken, poured iced tea, made small talk about the gardenias. When the plates were half empty, I set a thick cream envelope in the center of the table. "Mother's Day gift for you both," I said sweetly. "Open it together." Julian grinned, thinking it was a card. He tore it open. Inside were bank statements, the LLC filing, the Tesla receipt, the Cannes flight manifest. On top, a single post-it in my handwriting, "Every cent you stole," listed and dated. The color drained from Julian's face. Marisol gasped, hand flying to her pearls. "Evie," Julian started. "Don't," I said calmly. "Don't lie. I have everything. Tommy Ruiz has everything. The DA has everything." I nodded toward the living room. Tommy stepped out, arms folded. Marisol burst into tears. It was just temporary. We were going to pay it back once the film sold. Julian tried the charm. "Evie, your family. We can work this out privately." "No," I said. "Family doesn't steal from family. Family doesn't let an old woman wonder why her mailbox is empty." I slid a second, smaller envelope across the table. Inside was a demand letter from my attorney, Lorraine Chen, another old studio friend. Full restitution within 30 days, plus interest, plus legal fees. Or we file Monday morning. Julian's hands shook. Marisol sobbed into her napkin. I stood. "Desserts in the kitchen if anyone still has an appetite." They didn't. 10 minutes later the Tesla roared away, tires squealing like a bad exit line. I ate lemon meringue pie alone with Sinatra on my lap and wrote in my journal, "Mother's Day, 2025. The truth finally took center stage. The next week, Lorraine filed in Los Angeles Superior Court. Case number 25 STCV 18742. Elder financial exploitation and fraud. Julian tried to fight. He hired a slick lawyer who claimed I'd gifted the money. Lorraine buried them in evidence. My journal entered as Exhibit A, Tommy's forensic accounting, even screenshots of Julian bragging on Instagram about vintage residuals keeping the dream alive. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Judge Alvarez, didn't buy the gift story for a second. "Mr. Grant," she said, "you abused the trust of a senior citizen who raised you after your own mother left. This court orders full restitution of $71,428, plus $15,000 in emotional distress, payable within 60 days. You are also barred from managing any financial account belonging to Mrs. Harper for life." Julian had to sell the Tesla. Marisol pawned the diamonds. On July 29th, the full amount appeared in my account. I cried then. Not from sadness, but from relief so deep it felt like the ocean. I could have bought a new car, taken a cruise, splurged on anything. Instead, I called Gloria, Tommy, and Lorraine to my bungalow. "I want to start a foundation," I told them. 4 background actors, stunt performers, crew, anyone over 60 who's been cheated by managers, agents, or family. We'll call it the Final Cut Fund. We set up in a sunny office on Sunset, just above a vintage poster shop. First month we helped a 82-year-old grip get back $18,000 his nephew borrowed. Next, a dancer from the MGM days recovered her pension. Word spread. Soon we had lawyers volunteering, accountants, even a support group that met Thursday nights with coffee and Gloria's famous oatmeal cookies. David, Julian's half-brother, the quiet one who'd always stayed out of the drama, showed up one Saturday with boxes of files. "I should have seen it," he said, eyes red. "I'm sorry, Evie. Dad would be ashamed of him and proud of you." I hugged him. "You're here now. That's what matters." David became our volunteer treasurer. Every weekend he drove in from Pasadena, sleeves rolled up, helping seniors fill out forms. Some days I'd catch him staring at the old photos on our wall, me and Richard at the premiere of our first picture together, and I'd see the boy who used to visit us on set with his father. 1 year later, on the anniversary of Mother's Day, the Los Angeles Times ran a story, "Background Star Foregrounds Justice, Evelyn Harper's Final Cut Fund helps hundreds." They took my photo on the bungalow porch, gardenias blooming behind me, Sinatra in my arms. Julian sent a letter, forwarded by his lawyer, asking forgiveness. I read it once, then tucked it into the wooden box with Richard's love letters. I didn't answer. Some curtains stay closed. That night David and I had dinner right here at my old table. Chicken piccata again. Lemon meringue pie. "You know," he said, raising his glass of iced tea, "Dad always said you were the strongest person he ever met." I smiled. He just liked the way I looked in a bathing suit. We laughed until we cried, the good kind of tears. After he left, I opened my red journal to the last blank page. The candle flickered, same as always. Sinatra purred. Outside, the jacarandas were blooming purple again. I wrote, "A leading lady doesn't need the spotlight. She just needs to know when to speak her lines. Tonight, the scene is quiet. The picture is perfect. Fade out." I closed the journal, blew out the candle, and for the first time in years, I slept without dreaming of empty mailboxes. The end. Word count, 8,012. Thank you for walking this journey with Evelyn. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to remember. It's never too late to take back your dignity. From a little bungalow in Silver Lake, with love, Evelyn Harper, and me, the storyteller.